Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rutronik Connects Wireless webinars. My name is Julian Klaus, and I'm a corporate product manager here at Rutronik. As you might know, we are doing a lot of webinars called the Rutronik Connects, and this week it's all about cellular and locationing technologies. So as you might have seen in the past few weeks, we did already a webinar series for Wi-Fi. This week is all about cellular, and we have more to come. I will show you later on. So this week we will talk about, and also we have included our partners from our suppliers to talk about all about cellular technologies and trends. So especially in this session today, I'm your host for locationing services and especially for low power locationing. And today we have in-house our partner Nordic Semiconductor to talk about these locationing stuff. So what can you expect today? We have prepared, or especially our partner Nordic Semiconductor have prepared a presentation of about 45 minutes with a Q&A section at the end of the video. So if you have any kind of questions, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A section at the right-hand side of Microsoft Teams. And we are happy about to helping out with your questions. If you have more questions after the video, or if you're watching the video on demand, feel free to reach out to me. I will show you my email address or contact address later on. The presentation also gets recorded. So as said, you can watch the video on demand. The video will go live tomorrow. So if you have interest or if you want to share with your colleagues, feel free to use the video on demand. Today with us is from Nordic Semiconductor, Finn Boetius. He's also product manager, and he will now introduce you the world of Nordic Semiconductor and for sure the locationing technologies from their side.
Okay.
All right.
Good. So maybe brief introduction at the start. My name is Finn Boetius, as introduced. I'm a product marketing manager here at Nordic. My main area of expertise is Wi-Fi and Meta and smart home and those things. But through that area of Wi-Fi, I have lots of intersections with things like asset tracking, because Wi-Fi is actually a lot more useful for asset tracking than you might think. Don't worry, I'm not going to be talking all about Wi-Fi today. I want to give you an overview of everything you can do with Nordic when it comes to asset tracking. If you have any questions, write them in the Q&A, and if they fit, maybe I'll answer during the slides. Otherwise, we'll try to have a Q&A session at the end. And if I get through in time, I might even show you a small demo, because I have a dev kit here and I could show you something that works quite well that I think is a nice demo. Okay, agenda, we skip through this since I'm a bit late on time anyways. Quick introduction about Nordic Semiconductor. I'm assuming most of you know us, but we are a fabless Norwegian semiconductor company. We are leading in ultra-low power wireless technology, and we have a broad spectrum, which is going to be actually useful in today's topic, because it's good to use different technologies for locationing. So we have broad spectrum of short-range and long-range wireless products. Yeah, and we are about 1,400 employees at the moment. Let me actually quickly, yeah, good. This is our product portfolio, our product overview. Okay. We are mostly known for what you see on the left side of the screen, so the 52, 53 series of these are multi-protocol SoCs. The one thing you can see in very big is Bluetooth, because the main use case for this is Bluetooth, but they also support things like Thread, Meta, Zigbee, and things like we're going to talk about today, like Apple Find My or Google Find My Device, which also counts in as asset tracking. We also do Wi-Fi, and we also do cellular IoT, and we do cloud services, which you can see like at the bottom here. And all of these really fit well together because we're gonna talk about actually all of these today. So usually you take one of these topics and talk about it. So I will talk an hour about Wi-Fi. This time I get to talk about literally everything that you see here in this presentation, because asset tracking, you can do it in so many different ways. First off, let's actually have a definition of when I talk about locationing service, what do I actually talk about? Because the definition will change depending on who you ask. So when I talk about locationing, what I mean is location services enable the determination of a device's geographical location, leveraging specific hardware, software, and cloud services. So I specifically distinguish between location and positioning. Positioning is more like finding an object in a room. Locationing is finding an object on a map. And yeah, and this kind of data or services enable businesses to gather very valuable information and location data, and that can enhance the user experience. I want to give you a brief overview of different technologies, and the fun thing is you can actually do all of those with Nordic. So we will talk a bit about long range. That one actually comes last. So that's something like using GPS, for example, or connecting to cell phone towers and figuring out where you are based on the nearby cell phone towers. Then you have short range locationing, which goes more into that positioning area that I talked about, but can also be location on a map. And then you have distributed locationing, which is relatively new, but that would be something like an Apple AirTag, for example. So like Apple Find My or Google Find My device, or like, for example, my headphones here. Oh, you can't even see them. These have an integrated tile tracker, which is another competing way of doing distributed locationing. I have slides on all of these, so we're gonna have a look at how they work. I want to start off with distributed. So what does that actually mean? I want to talk here about two things, and very briefly, since I know we just have 45 minutes. So the way this works, and this is the Apple Find My. So what would be the case is I have an end product. This is not a Find My device, but let's use my headphones as an example again. If these were to have Nordic SoC inside, what you could do is you could run an application on it that runs Apple Find My. And then whenever I lose this device, but somebody walks by with an iPhone next to it, these trackers will send out the please look for me information, and the iPhone can, or like iOS device, the MacBook would also work, for example. And that locationing could be sent back to the cloud to tell me where my headphones are. So let's say I'm in the park, I lose my headphones, I don't know where they are. The headphones can't have a cloud connection, right? Because they don't have cellular. Well, yeah, they don't have cellular, and there's no Wi-Fi network nearby. But they could send out this signal to nearby iPhones that figure out, hey, there's one of the Find My devices out here. And if I'm actually looking for this device, I will find, or will be able to find the location of that device that I left it in the park. And this is what's happening then on the Apple Cloud server. And I can see on my own device where these devices are. So like this is a distributed way. So we're basically using all of the iPhones around the world to help us find these devices and track them. Very similar to the Apple Find My is, now you will see the slide very slightly change, is the Google Find My device. you see the main thing here is the laptop disappeared. And so this works in a similar way. So you can use the same Nordic devices again for the tag that you want to track. And in this case, it's not going to be iPhones, it's going to be Android devices scanning or like looking for nearby tags. So if again I lose my headphones or my keys with the dongle on them that works with Google Find My Device, what I could do then is I can look for that device, and other Android phones all over the world are gonna report the device, the location of the lost device to the Google Cloud server, and I will be able to find my device based on Android phones walking past my device, which is a very, very genius way of using a pre-existing infrastructure, which is distributed phones everywhere, to actually leverage that and give additional uses to phones, or like tags in this case. Both of these you can do with Nordic hardware. The important thing is that in both of those cases, you will need permission, in that case, from Apple or Google to develop on that. So I have this small disclaimer slide, for example, for Apple Find My. So the detailed requirements for the system and details about Find My Network are only available to Apple-approved vendors, so you can be covered and verified by Apple. So not anyone can just use an iPhone to do tracking. You actually need to get permission from Apple. But if you actually want to develop a device like that, get in contact with Rutronik or with us directly. And we will help you get that. So you will need an MFI license, for example, for Apple Find My. MFI is made for iPhone. So you need that agreement. So it is not like most other things for Nordic open source. So that was the short stint on distributed locationing. Just to give you an understanding of like it's a thing and how it works. It's basically leveraging phones and their internet connection. The next one would be short range, and here you have a lot of different ways to do locationing. So you could, for example, just use RFID tags or something like that. I'm gonna here mostly talk about things you can do with Nordic. So there will be things that are not in this list. I'm specifically not talking about them because the things you can't do with Nordic, I don't know that much about. So I want to go into the specifics you can do if you are using Nordic hardware anyways. The very obvious one, the first one, is RSSI-based locationing. So you would just do locationing based on signal strength. So let's say I want to figure out how far away, again, my phone, now you can actually see it. Let me actually think I can remove my background here and then, so if I want to find out, or let's use this as an example, I want to find out the distance between this development kit and my laptop. If I want to use a signal strength-based locationing method, that does not necessarily work that well, because I will get a relatively accurate distance measurement, but only if there's nothing in the air gap between the two devices, which is not really a real-world example. I want to briefly talk to you about direction finding, because that's a bit different from the other ones. But the one thing to keep in mind and to mention here, the more accurate ways to do locationing are usually based on phase shift. So you're not actually using the signal strength. You are sending out signals, in this case, Bluetooth signals. And Bluetooth signal has a certain wavelength depending on which channel you are. And the interesting thing that you can do is if you change the wavelength, so like by switching channels, for example, the frequency of that wave will slightly change. So if you send the same information on 3 different frequencies, the phase of the signal will change, and you can actually use that to determine a device's location, which is very interesting. Direction finding is a bit of a special one, because it's actually not giving you like all of these ways to do short-range locationing that I have here give you the distance between two devices, whereas direction finding actually gives you everything else. So that one would give you the direction a device is from another device. It's also phase shift based, but in a different way. So what you would do is, let's use the example, my development kit again. If I want to know where from this development kit, where you, in this case, so where my laptop or my laptop camera is, in a direction from this development kit. What I would need to have is I would need several different antennas on this development kit to send out a signal, and then I can measure the phase shift in between these different antennas on the kit to figure out where the receiving antenna is compared to this one. This works because this kit actually has two antennas. They're not both for Bluetooth, but we can use them. So if this antenna has a slightly longer way to my webcam in this case than this antenna, well, now it has a slightly longer way, and you could actually use that to determine the relative angle the signal needs to take. So you would get the exact or pretty exact direction something is in. But you can imagine you can use that actually for a positioning system in a room. Because if you have a room and you have one of these receivers, you know where the ground is. So that means if you know the layout of the room and you know where the device is mounted in that room, just having the angle can give you the exact location of an asset you're tracking in a room. The main downside here is that you actually need an antenna array. So one side of this equation needs multiple antennas. And this array also needs to have, like, the smallest one I've seen is like, I think 12 by 12 centimeters. So it is quite large. Because like it needs to have enough difference in the phase shift. The other two ones, the Nordic Distance Toolbox and the new channel sounding that's been introduced in Bluetooth 6, are very similar. Which is also a very good introduction to explain how the new channel sounding features in Bluetooth 6.0 works. Don't worry, we will get to the cellular part. I still have some time left. So in Bluetooth 6, there's a similar feature that's phase-based and RSSI-based ranging. Which is very nice for like reliable presence detection. It's good for distance estimation, like we just showed here, but it's also very good for built-in security. Because a lot of you might remember the way that lots and lots of cars got stolen with like this keyless entry feature, where people just did this man-in-the-middle attack, where somebody left their keys too close to their entrance door. You pick up that radio signal, transport that radio signal very close to the car unlocks itself because it thinks you're standing next to the car with the key, and then somebody, by playing the man in the middle or just forwarding the signal from the key, can steal a car. And this is one of the really big use cases for channel sounding, is that you can actually make this a lot safer by combining phase-based and RSSI-based measurement. And some security, like encryption in between. But the really, really, really big thing here is that this does not require any special hardware. So if this is supported in a normal phone, which it will be, you can just use the normal phone and have a tag that you want to scan. Without using any antenna array or special software on any side. It just needs to support Bluetooth 6.0, and you can do things like distinguish the distance between two Bluetooth devices. So this is a very, very nice use case. I have some more slides explaining how it works. So we're basically combining phase-based ranging and RSSI-based ranging. So the phase-based ranging is the crucial method for like the finer ranging, and is based on basically what we just showed you in the video. So it's based on phase shift between two different signals. And it's also very accurate, like to, I think, like half a meter or something. And everything is actually like it's in the specification, so it's in the spec, which means it will be supported by most phones very, very soon. And you can also do this like while having data communication with your phone. And then you also have round trip time. So you have like when you send the information from the phone, you also send the timing information, and then the information gets mirrored back from the tag that you're tracking. And if you combine those two, you can also do things like the round trip time based can measure a lot longer distances, for example. So like if you want to have a very coarse distance measurement, for that it works very well. And then if you need fine measurements, you can go to phase shift based. This is also a lot easier or like the algorithm is easier compared to phase-based ranging. All of this is built in and made secure. I'm not going to go too deeply into all of this, but I'm going to talk to you about the beauty of channel sounding. And you do get all of these slides afterwards, right? So there's a bit more information in these slides than I can talk about in brief. The power consumption is close to normal Bluetooth LE power consumption, which is very, very low. It's standardized and interoperable, which I mentioned with the phones. It can be done in very, very like Bluetooth beacon, like kind of simplistic devices. Hardware and software configurations. You can configure how accurate you want to be, and it will be supported in mobile phones. And now we come to the part that more fits the session that we're in today, because we wanted to talk a bit more about cellular and GNSS. So we want to talk about long-ranged locationing using, for example, satellites or wide area networks. For that, I'm going to start with a very brief overview of cloud location services. And here we have a nice diagram that shows you power consumption compared to location accuracy with different technologies that you can use. The main one that you might think of when you think about locationing, if you haven't looked too deep into it, is just using GPS. So in this case, it mentions unassisted GPS here. The very brief thing of how that works is you have like satellites around the Earth that just send mostly time information, and then your receiving device, so like your GPS tracker or your phone, will use that information from several satellites to trilaterate where in the world your device actually is at the moment. This is very power hungry, as you can imagine. If you want to receive signals from satellites, those signals are not very strong. So there's a lot of effort that needs to go into receiving those signals and calculating those signals. You can help this along by getting extra data to help you I'm not going to go too deep into this, but you can get extra data to help you reduce the wait time and the overall power consumption without reducing the accuracy of the normal unassisted GPS. So you can have assisted GPS and you can have predictive GPS that assume, or like that you basically can use a cloud connection to download some data that helps you reduce the time you need to get your first fix, so like your location of where your GPS thinks you are. And you can also combine them, so you can use assisted and predictive GPS. I'm going to go later on into what kind of hardware you want to use for that, but you get a good hint here on the slide where we have the 91 series. Those are our cellular SIPs. So a system and package. They have LTM and VRT, so they have cellular, and they also have support for GNSS, so GPS, for example. So they support this cell-based locationing and also GPS-based locationing. And then we also have the 70 series here, which is mostly why I'm interested in this, because I'm usually mostly interested in Wi-Fi. Because you can also use Wi-Fi to improve this location service. I also have some estimations here on like how good your accuracy can get with the different methods, but let me go a bit more into how they work. So the single cell and multi-cell based locationing is something that is very easy to do. So what you would do there is you would just take a device that can talk to a cellular tower. And usually you want the data somewhere in the cloud. So you will need a cloud connection anyways, which means you need a cellular connection if you're traveling. And just by knowing which cell phone mast you connect to, you know where in the world that mast is. And then you get the locationing that tells you, okay, this mast's range is, let's say, what's the example we give here? About 1,000 meters. So you would know that you are within the radius of 1,000 meters of a cell phone tower. You can improve this by looking, can I also see the signals of other cell phone towers, and use that to trilaterate your location. And then that would be using multi-cell locationing. And then the thing in the middle here, Wi-Fi locationing, is using something similar to that, but instead of looking at which cell phone towers are close by, it's looking at which Wi-Fi networks are close by. So that is actually how I'm guessing most of you are sitting inside on now at the moment and not in the open sky, which means you wouldn't be able to use GPS where you are because the GPS signals aren't driving. Like where I'm sitting right now, for example, I'm sitting in an office. There's no GPS signals in here. So what I can do is I can look into my phone, and my phone is still going to give me a pretty accurate location of where I am at the moment. That is because it's looking at the different Wi-Fi networks nearby, and there's databases online that tell you if you are nearby these Wi-Fi networks, this is your geographical location. And this is a lot more power efficient than, for example, cellular, and is also a lot more accurate than cellular. No, sorry. It is more power efficient than GPS, and it's more accurate than cellular. So yeah, cell-based locationing obviously is the least power-hungry version, but it's also not as accurate. Because even for Wi-Fi locationing, you will still need the cellular connection to send the information about the Wi-Fi networks to the cloud. I have a brief example of combining different of these or using different of these location techniques and how long of a battery life you could expect of a device. Here we did the calculation and assumed, I think, a 650 milliamp battery. So if you want to do, if you want to use assisted GPS or assisted GNSS, you could get like 1 to 6 years of battery lifetime, which is decent. And you would get pretty much spot on your exact location. If you have predictive GPS, it's going to look relatively similar. If you do Wi-Fi locationing, which I just talked about, here you could actually do like 7 to 13 years of battery lifetime on that battery. Even better if you just use multi-cell, so you're not using Wi-Fi, you're not using GNSS, you could actually get like 10 to 14 years. And with just single cell locationing, you could have 15 years of battery lifetime. But again, the accuracy will decrease. So like here, you will just know like basically which city are you in, whereas if you're using Wi-Fi, you could actually point to the correct house you're sitting in at the moment. Okay, how does it work? Brief overview. So if you combine a 91 series device with a 70 series device, you scan for nearby Wi-Fi networks, you send that information to the cloud, cloud calculates position, sends you back latitude, longitude, and the uncertainty of that position. Power-friendly, fast methods, accurate, and works indoors. And yeah, so why Wi-Fi for locationing? The main reason, and what we see a lot of our customers actually doing, is you have the solution with the 91 series that has cellular and GPS. So you can always use single cell or multi-cell, but sometimes you need a more accurate location, and then you want to use GPS. But there's certain areas where GPS doesn't work as well. As I mentioned, for example, in here in a building, you will not get GPS. Or if you're in high-rise areas where there's lots of really high buildings, GPS doesn't work as well because the signal might not appear, or you have multipathing issues of the signal being reflected from buildings. And but the really nice thing is, exactly in those situations, there's usually Wi-Fi networks around. So then you can use Wi-Fi. And if you want to come from it from a different perspective, like if you want to maximize power consumption, minimize power consumption, you could, for example, start by scanning Wi-Fi networks. If there's Wi-Fi networks nearby, you can use that information to get your location. If not, then you go to the more power-hungry but also a bit more accurate GPS. Then I talked about Wi-Fi locationing a bit. For that, we have our NF70 series. So this is the time when I start talking about devices. What is the NF70 series actually? So it's Wi-Fi companion ICs. They're dual band capable, they're low power and secure. They have advanced coexistence with things like Bluetooth Low Energy. They're supported in our NF Connect SDK, exactly the same SDK that you would also use for cellular and for GPS and those things. And they're Wi-Fi 6 certified. The thing that we care about for locationing isn't all of this. We basically just care about the dual band capability and the support in the NF6 SDK. Because for Wi-Fi locationing, you actually don't need to send any data. You don't need to connect to any of these access points. You just need to know that they're there. So what we did is, yes, we have this device, which does the dual band, and it does 2.4 gigahertz, and it supports station modes. So like this is a full-fledged Wi-Fi device. But this is actually a bit overkill if you just want to do locationing. So what we also did is we made, right, can you see it here? We made this device, which is very interesting because it's a Wi-Fi companion IC that does not send any data. So it's only there for scanning. So exactly for this use case. And that you can put next to your 91 series device, for example, and have... Yeah, it just uses SPI or QSPI if you want to, but you don't need to send much data, so SPI is perfectly fine here. And you can use that to add Wi-Fi scanning capabilities to your asset tracking application. But since we're talking about cellular, let's talk about cellular. This is our newest device in the NRF91 series, and this is the one that we recommend. Like if you're doing a new design, use this one. It's a bit smaller than its predecessor. It's physically smaller. It's using an ARM Cortex M33 application processor. It has 1 meg of flash. It has 256 kilobytes of RAM. Has Trustzone. Has CryptoCell. It supports multiband, so LTE-M, NB-IoT. This is 3GPP release 14, and it also supports GNSS. And for today, we don't care about NR+. It has a small form factor. It has its PMIC included. It has RF front-end modules included. It has passive and crystals included. And it's made for low power and has an average power consumption in, while sending and receiving at like 16, or like, no, in EDRX, it has the current consumption of 18 microamps. You can get the development hardware. You can order it at the DK at least. You can order at Rutronik. The Thingy 91X is coming out a bit later this year. No, next year. The year is almost over. Yeah, so if you want to start something new, I highly recommend this one. But if you're already developing with Nordic, you will most likely use the 9160. So this one, and that is still supported, is in full production. Feel free to use it. But if you want to use this one, only goes to like modem firmware 1.9. So if you want to use our newest modem firmware and the 3GPP release 14, then you can switch from this one to the NRF 9161, which is where we support the new modem firmware. We also have a smaller version that doesn't have a PMIC included. And then this is the 9151 that we recommend if you start the new design, take this one. All of them should be available by Rutronik. If you want to combine this, so you want to do what I would recommend is cellular and GNSS together with Wi-Fi. You can take this development kit. This is the 9161 in this case still, just because I didn't have a newer image. DK, and we put the NRF 7000 and 2EK on top. So this is an Arduino Shield form factor kit that just has a little Wi-Fi antenna here and has the 7002 chip on it. So you can combine Wi-Fi and cellular with this combination. And the main big thing, if you're working with Nordic, so the Nordic benefits, is what I showed you at the start. You saw this whole range of products that we have and support, and they're all supported in the same development kit. They're supported by the same tech support stuff. And here is one of the really nice use cases where this is very, very useful because you actually need to combine different technologies. So you don't need to go ahead and be like, okay, I have my microcontroller and that one has its own SDK. And then I get a cellular modem and then I need to send over AT commands to that. And then I also have something that does Wi-Fi that ideally is supported by the same SoC, but might not be. So might need a different SDK, even if it's from the same supplier. And then you also need to work with a cloud supplier and who's doing my location services, where do I get my Wi-Fi data from. With Nordic, you can get all of that out of one hand, and you can also get the tech support from the same company. So there's no finger pointing and blaming other people for things not working, because you can get everything out of one hand from Nordic. So you can get the silicon, you can get the software, you can get the support. You'll get courses that will actually teach you how to build your own asset tracker in our developer academy, and you get the cloud services all from one supplier if you want to. You can also use your own cloud. We will not limit you here in any way. So like if you want to use something from another supplier, that is perfectly possible. And if we are in time, I'm not sure how many questions we have. We could do questions first, and if we have enough time, I can show you quickly the locationing demo where I can just show you how this works. But maybe Julian can tell me how we are looking on questions.
Yes, for sure. So thank you, Finn, for the nice presentation. The first question we got is, can I load Apple Find My and Google Find My device in the same SoC, and so I can make an universal tracker?
The honest answer is I don't know. I haven't thought about it, but also I don't think you would need to, because just the raw amount of iPhones and Android phones running around, I think makes that not necessary. But technically, so yeah, the honest answer is I don't know. And you might also get restrictions from Apple and Google, because you need to sign up. And I think they want to know what kind of device you're building. So you might actually get artificially restricted. Keep in mind, I'm not the Find My expert, so I don't know exactly. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure. This is my honest answer.
Okay. So next question is, so with Bluetooth 6.0, I was wondering if this technology will replace ultra-wideband in applications like keyless entries in vehicles.
Yeah, that is one of the very big target applications that the Bluetooth Special Interest Group has for this channel sounding. So there's lots of automotive industry actually getting involved in this, because that is one of the main use cases they are looking at. Yeah, the main point is like it works really well, it is very secure, and Bluetooth is a lot less power hungry than UWB. So very likely.
Nice. Thank you, Finn. In case you have more questions, so we are about to the end of the webinars. In case you have more questions for us or for Finn or Nordic Semiconductor, you can check out our websites, or you can contact me, and I will, if it's too technical, I will ask Finn for sure. So you can contact me all the time. I will be happy to help you out with any case. And some more advertisement for our wireless webinar series. So you see in the middle, it's the slot where Finn did his locationing webinars today. And later on, about in 50 minutes or 20 minutes from now, you will see and hear another wireless webinar series from Kyocera AVX for antennas. And later this day, we will have a slot with Telit Synterion about gateways. And also tomorrow, we have again Nordic in the wireless webinar series with Heidi talking about DECT NR+, the world's first 5G non-cellular technology. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. If you're watching the VOD afterwards, for sure, you can always contact us and I will forward your question to Finn if needed. And yeah, so I think Finn is also happy to see some questions or happy to answer them as well.
Yes, and keep in mind, I talked about lots of different technologies today.
Yes.
I think we have like at least one webinar per technology, usually more than that. So I gave a very broad overview. And if you want more in-depth information, you will definitely find them. And I can also point you in the right direction if you need something.
Definitely, yeah. All right, and how things go on, we will have the next webinar weeks later in October and in November. You can see on the right-hand side on the bottom, we will have a mixed technology session with ultra-wideband, LoRa, Edge AI with machine learning, for example, as well, beginning of October 21st. And also we will have a Bluetooth session or our Bluetooth week in November, and with lots of news from Nordic Semiconductor and some module manufacturers. All right. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And if there's no question anymore left, then I wish you a good start into the day.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, bye.